How can one impulsive night out lead to a moment where everything in your life is decided by a single envelope? What happens when the fun you chased turns into a public reckoning, delivered right to your door by a stranger in a suit? Can you still call your husband the villain when the law is on his side and everyone is watching? The bass pounded through my chest as I stumbled into our apartment at 3 a.m, my heels dangling from my fingers and my hair a mess of sweat and hairspray. The living room was dark, but I could see Rowan's silhouette on the couch, laptop glowing in front of him like he'd been waiting. "We need to talk. Urgent," he said without looking up. My heart hammered against my ribs, but I forced a laugh. "Can't it wait? I'm exhausted." "No, Lira, it can't." 6 hours earlier, I'd been standing in front of our bedroom mirror, applying the third coat of mascara, while Rowan sat on the bed behind me, typing away on his laptop like always. "You're really going out tonight?" he asked, not bothering to look up from his screen. "Samara invited me. It's been months since we've had sister time." I turned to face him, smoothing down my black dress. "Don't I look nice?" He glanced up for maybe 2 seconds. "Sure, just don't stay out too late." That was it. No compliment, no interest, no nothing. Just back to his precious computer screen. We'd had the same conversation 100 times before. Him buried in work, me feeling invisible in my own marriage. "I'll be back when I'm back," I said, grabbing my purse with more force than necessary. The club was everything our apartment wasn't: loud, vibrant, alive. The music thrummed through the floor and up into my bones, washing away 8 years of domestic routine and bedtime stories, and asking, "How was your day?" to a man who barely looked up from his laptop to answer. "You look amazing," Samara shouted over the music, pulling me toward the bar. "When's the last time you got dressed up like this?" "Too long," I shouted back, accepting the vodka tonic she pressed into my hand. The alcohol hit fast on my empty stomach. I'd skipped dinner after another silent meal with Rowan, where the only sounds were Ella asking about homework and the scrape of forks against plates. By my third drink, the weight of my wedding ring felt foreign on my finger. That's when I noticed him watching me from across the dance floor. He was younger than Rowan, maybe late 20s, with the kind of easy confidence that comes from never having to worry about mortgage payments or parent-teacher conferences. When he smiled and started walking over, I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Wanted. "I'm Theo," he said, leaning close enough that I could smell his cologne over the club's fog machine. "Lira." I didn't mention the married part. "Want to dance?" I should have said no. Should have thought about Ella sleeping in her princess sheets at home, about the family photos lining our hallway, about the vows I'd made in front of 200 people 8 years ago. Instead, I took his hand. The dancing led to more drinks. The drinks led to his hand on my waist, then my hip, then places it definitely shouldn't have been in public. When he leaned down to whisper in my ear, his breath hot against my neck, I felt more alive than I had in months. "Want to get out of here?" he asked. I knew I should go home, should slip back into bed next to my husband and pretend this never happened. But when I thought about walking back into that quiet apartment, about Rowan barely looking up when I came in, about another day of feeling like a ghost in my own life. "There's a hotel around the corner," I heard myself say. The boutique hotel was the kind of place Rowan would never think to take me. All dim lighting and expensive sheets and champagne flutes on the nightstand. Theo's hands were everywhere, urgent and appreciative in ways that made me remember what it felt like to be desired instead of just tolerated. Afterward, as he slept beside me, I stared at the ceiling and tried to feel guilty, tried to summon some sense of remorse or shame, but all I felt was satisfaction. Finally, someone had noticed me. Someone had wanted me enough to pursue me, to compliment me, to make me feel like more than just a wife and mother going through the motions. I took a selfie in the hotel bathroom mirror, my hair tousled and my lips still swollen. Posted it to Instagram with the caption, "Sometimes you need a night to remember who you are," and waited for the likes to roll in. When I woke up the next morning, Theo was already gone. No note, no number, just the lingering scent of his cologne on the pillow and a receipt for the room on the nightstand. For a moment, panic fluttered in my chest. What if someone had seen us? What if word got back to Rowan? But then I checked my phone and saw 37 likes on my post, including several from male co-workers who'd never paid attention to me before. The validation was intoxicating. I had 17 missed calls from Rowan. My hand shook as I called him back, already crafting the story in my head. Samara and I had too much to drink. I crashed at her place. My phone died. Simple, believable lies that would smooth over any suspicion. "Where are you?" His voice was flat, emotionless. "At Samara's. I told you I was staying out late." "It's noon, Lira." "We were up talking all night. You know how sisters are." I forced a laugh. "Is Ella okay?" "She's fine. She asked where Mommy was this morning." The guilt hit then, sharp and sudden. My baby girl, waking up to find me gone, asking questions I couldn't answer honestly. "I'll be home in an hour," I said. "We need to talk when you get here." The line went dead. As I rode the elevator down to the hotel lobby, I caught my reflection in the mirrored walls. My dress was wrinkled, my makeup smeared, but there was something different in my eyes, a spark that hadn't been there in years. Whatever Rowan wanted to talk about, I could handle it. I'd been handling his moods and his silences and his complete lack of interest in me for years. One night of feeling alive again wasn't going to destroy anything that wasn't already broken. I walked out of that hotel with my head high, my phone buzzing with notifications, feeling more like myself than I had since before Ella was born. I had no idea that Rowan had already started taking notes. The apartment felt different when I walked through the front door. Not physically. The same beige walls, the same family photos, the same stack of Ella's coloring books on the coffee table. But there was a tension in the air that made my skin prickle. Rowan was in the kitchen, making lunch with mechanical precision. He didn't look up when I entered. "Hey," I said, aiming for casual. "Sorry I'm so late. Samara and I got carried away catching up." "Uh-huh." He continued spreading peanut butter on bread, his movements sharp and controlled. "Where's Ella?" "At Mum's. I called her this morning when you didn't come home." The judgment in his voice made my defenses rise. "I told you I was staying out late." "Late is midnight, Lira. Not disappearing until noon the next day without answering your phone." "My phone died." The lie came easily, practiced from years of small deceptions about spending money or forgetting to pick up his dry cleaning. Finally, he looked at me. Really looked, his eyes scanning my face with the same methodical attention he gave his computer code. "Your phone was posting to Instagram at 2 a.m. My stomach dropped. I'd forgotten about the selfie, about the timestamp that would give me away. "I had enough battery for that," I said quickly, "but then it died right after." "Right." He set down the knife and turned to face me fully. "So you were at Samara's all night?" "Yes." "And you'll stick to that story if I call her right now?" The way he said it, so calm, so certain, sent ice through my veins. But I couldn't back down now. "Call her. She'll tell you the same thing." He pulled out his phone, thumb hovering over Samara's contact. For a moment, we stared at each other across the kitchen island that had seen 1,000 family breakfasts, 1,000 ordinary moments that suddenly felt precious and fragile. Then he put the phone away. "I'm going to pick up Ella," he said. "We'll talk more later." After he left, I called Samara immediately. "Jesus, Lira, where were you last night? Rowan called me at 7 a.m. looking for you." "What did you tell him?" "The truth, that you left the club around midnight with some guy." "What the hell is going on?" My heart stopped. "You told him about Theo." "I told him you left with someone. I didn't know it was supposed to be a secret. Are you having an affair?" "It's not an affair," I said quickly. "It was just one night, one stupid night where I felt like myself again instead of just Rowan's wife and Ella's mother." "Lira." "He doesn't pay attention to me anymore, Sam. When's the last time he complimented me? When's the last time he acted like he actually wanted to be married to me instead of just going through the motions? There was a long pause. So you slept with some random guy from the club? It wasn't random. His name is Theo, he's sweet, and for one night I felt beautiful and desired and alive. Is that such a crime? It is when you're married. Don't lecture me. You're the one who told me to let loose and have fun. I meant dancing and drinks, not cheating on your husband. I hung up on her, fury and panic warring in my chest. This was supposed to be simple, one night of excitement, one small rebellion against the mundane routine my life had become. But already it was spiraling beyond my control. When Rowan came back with Ella, I was ready. I'd showered, changed into mom clothes, and practiced my story until it felt true. "Mommy!" Ella ran to me, wrapping her small arms around my waist. "Where were you? Daddy said you were at Aunt Samara's, but you didn't answer when I called." "I'm sorry, baby. Mommy's phone wasn't working." I smoothed her hair, breathing in her little girl scent of strawberry shampoo and innocence. "Did you have fun with Grandma June?" "She made pancakes, but she seemed sad." Over Ella's head, I caught Rowan's eye. He was watching us with that same analytical expression, like he was cataloguing every word, every gesture. "Why don't you go play in your room for a bit?" I told Ella. "Daddy and I need to talk." Once she was gone, Rowan sat across from me at the kitchen table. He'd brought his laptop, I noticed, along with a yellow legal pad covered in his neat handwriting. "I called Samara," he said without preamble. My throat went dry. "And?" "She told me you left the club with a man around midnight. She seemed surprised that I didn't know." There was no point in lying anymore. "It wasn't what you think." "What do I think, Lira?" "That I'm some kind of slut who goes around sleeping with random men." "I think you're my wife who disappeared all night and lied about where she was." His voice was still that same flat monotone, which somehow made it worse than if he'd been yelling. "I think you came home at noon wearing the same dress you left in, with your makeup smeared and your hair a mess. You don't understand? Then explain it to me." I took a breath, trying to find the words that would make him see. "We're like roommates, Rowan. We live in the same house. We take care of Ella together. But when's the last time you looked at me? Really looked at me, not just glanced up from your computer. So you cheated." I made a mistake. One mistake, after years of feeling invisible in my own marriage. He made a note on his legal pad, actually wrote something down while I was pouring my heart out to him. "What are you writing?" "Just keeping track of things." "What kind of things?" "Details, dates, facts." He looked up at me with eyes that seemed like a stranger's. "You should know that I've already started documenting everything." "Documenting what?" "Your behavior, the lies, the affair." "It wasn't an affair. It was one night." "One night of adultery is still adultery, Lira." The word hit like a slap. Adultery. Such an old-fashioned biblical word that made me sound like some kind of scarlet woman instead of just a neglected wife who'd made one impulsive decision. "I'm going to my office," he said, closing the laptop and standing up. "I have some errands to run downtown tomorrow." "What kind of errands?" But he was already walking away, leaving me alone at the kitchen table with the echo of that terrible word hanging in the air. That night, I lay in bed listening to him breathe beside me, wondering if this was how it would end, not with passion or drama, but with legal pads and documentation and the slow, methodical destruction of everything we'd built together. I thought about Theo, about his hands on my skin, and the way he'd looked at me like I was the only woman in the world. For one night, I'd felt alive again. Now I was beginning to wonder if it had been worth it. The video appeared on Monday morning, tagged in 17 different posts across social media. Someone at the club had filmed Theo and me dancing, his hands roaming places they shouldn't have been, my head thrown back in laughter as I ground against him like a teenager at prom. The caption on the most popular post read, When married mums think they're still 21, chill hot wife, imho, club life, imru and drama alert. My phone started buzzing at 6 a.m. with notifications. Screenshots from friends, concerned messages from family, and worst of all, likes and comments from people I worked with. By the time I got to the office, the video had been shared 43 times. Lira, my supervisor, Janet, appeared at my cubicle before I'd even turned on my computer. "Can I see you in my office?" The walk across the open floor felt like a perp walk. I could feel eyes on me, hear the whispered conversations that stopped abruptly when I passed. At my desk, someone had left a printout of the video's thumbnail image. Me pressed against Theo, his mouth at my neck, my wedding ring clearly visible as my hand tangled in his hair. "Sit down," Janet said, closing the door behind us. She was in her 50s, divorced twice, and had always been sympathetic to the challenges of balancing work and family. Today, her face was stone. "I'm sure you've seen the video," she began. "It's not what it looks like. It looks like you're engaging in inappropriate behavior in public while representing our company. Several clients have already called asking if the woman in the video is our Lira Vane from customer service." My face burned. How would they even know? "Because you're tagged in the posts, Lira. Your full name, your workplace, everything." She slid a folder across the desk. "HR wants to see you at 2 o'clock. I'd suggest you think very carefully about how you want to handle this." The rest of the morning was torture. Every phone call felt loaded with judgment, every customer interaction strained. During lunch, I hid in my car and called Rowan. "Have you seen it?" I asked without preamble. "The video? Yes." "People at work are talking. HR wants to meet with me." "I'm not surprised." His casual tone made me want to scream. "That's all you have to say? Your wife is being humiliated online and you're not surprised? You made your choice, Lira. These are the consequences. I need you to support me right now." "Support you in what? Lying? Pretending this didn't happen?" "I need you to act like my husband instead of some cold, calculating stranger." There was a long pause. "I'll pick up Ella from school today. You should probably work late and let this die down." He hung up without saying goodbye. The HR meeting was worse than I'd imagined. They had printouts of everything: the video, the Instagram posts, the comments from co-workers. They talked about company image and professional conduct and put me on administrative leave pending a full investigation. "This is insane," I protested. "What I do in my personal time is my business." "Not when it goes viral and reflects poorly on the company," the HR director said. "We've already had 3 clients ask to be transferred to different representatives." I drove home in a daze, my career potentially in ruins over one night of fun. When I walked into the apartment, Rowan was helping Ella with homework at the kitchen table, the picture of domestic normalcy. "How did it go?" he asked, not looking up from Ella's math worksheet. "I'm on leave. They're investigating." "Mummy, what's vestigating?" Ella asked, looking up at me with innocent eyes. "It's when grown-ups have to figure out if someone made a mistake at work," Rowan explained before I could answer. His tone was gentle with her, patient in a way he hadn't been with me in months. After Ella went to bed, I tried to talk to him again. "I could lose my job over this." "I know. That's our insurance, Rowan. Ella's health coverage, my salary. We need that money." "I'm aware of our financial situation." He was back to the legal pad, writing in his careful script while I fell apart in front of him. "What are you documenting now?" "The consequences of your actions, the timeline, the financial impact." "Why?" For the first time since this all started, he looked directly at me. "Because I'm not going to let you rewrite history. I'm not going to let you play the victim when you made the choice to destroy our family." "One night doesn't destroy a family, doesn't it?" He gestured toward Ella's bedroom. "She asked me today why kids at school were laughing about a video of Mommy. How do I explain that to an 8-year-old? The blood drained from my face. "Kids at school saw it. One of the other parents recognized you, showed it to their kid, who showed other kids. Children are cruel, Lira. They don't understand nuance or marriage problems or feeling neglected. They just know that Ella's mom was acting inappropriately in public. I sank into the chair across from him, the full weight of what I'd done finally hitting me. It wasn't just about Rowan and me anymore. It was about our daughter, about her having to face classmates who'd seen her mother grinding on a stranger in a nightclub. I never meant for this to happen. But it did happen, and now we all have to live with it. He closed the legal pad and stood up. I'm sleeping in the guest room tonight, and for the foreseeable future. Rowan, please. I've already talked to a lawyer, Lira. You should probably do the same. The words hit like a physical blow. A lawyer? I have an appointment tomorrow morning, downtown. You're divorcing me, over one mistake. I'm protecting myself and my daughter from someone who thinks adultery is just a mistake. He walked toward the guest room, then paused at the doorway. For what it's worth, I hope you felt it was worth it, because it's going to cost you everything. After he left, I sat alone at the kitchen table, my phone buzzing with notifications I no longer wanted to see. The video had been shared 68 times now, with comments ranging from slut-shaming to pity to crude speculation about my marriage. I thought about that night at the club, about how alive and free I'd felt in Theo's arms. It seemed like a lifetime ago, that moment of pure, selfish pleasure. Now I was beginning to understand the true price of feeling alive. I found the spreadsheet on Tuesday morning, left open on Rowan's laptop like he wanted me to see it. Row after row of data, organized with the same meticulous attention to detail he brought to his IT consulting work. Date, time, location, description, evidence. April 15th, 11:47 p.m. Subject left residence claiming sister time with Samara. Instagram post timestamped 2:13 a.m. from unknown location. Hotel charge on joint credit card, $247. April 16th, 12:32 p.m. Subject returned home in same clothing, disheveled appearance. Claimed phone died, but social media activity shows otherwise. Lied about staying at sister's house. April 18th, 9:15 a.m. Viral video surfaces showing subject engaged in inappropriate physical contact with unknown male. 47 shares, 312 comments as of this entry. April 19th, 2:00 p.m. Subject placed on administrative leave from employment due to viral video. Potential loss of family health insurance and income. There were more entries, documenting every lie, every evasion, every consequence that rippled out from that one night. Bank statements highlighting the hotel charge, screenshots of the social media posts, even a note about Ella's teacher requesting a conference due to behavioral changes and emotional distress. My hands shook as I scrolled through it all. He'd been building a case against me, collecting evidence like I was some kind of criminal instead of his wife of 8 years. You're documenting everything, I said when he came into the kitchen for coffee. Yes. This is insane, Rowan. We're married. We should be working through this together, not whatever this is. He poured his coffee with the same mechanical precision he did everything else now. You worked through it with Theo. I'm just protecting myself. From what? From your version of events. From your ability to twist the truth until you're the victim and I'm the villain. I never said you were the villain. No? Then why did you cheat? Why did you lie? Why did you risk our daughter's well-being and our family's stability for one night with a stranger? I didn't have an answer that wouldn't sound selfish and petty, because you ignored me, because you made me feel invisible, because I wanted to feel wanted again. All true, but none of it justified what I'd done. I made a mistake, I said finally. You made a choice, multiple choices, and now you have to live with the consequences. He grabbed his laptop and headed for the door. I'll be out most of the day, legal appointments. Rowan, wait. But he was already gone, leaving me alone with the wreckage of my life spread across his spreadsheet. I called Samara, desperate for someone to talk to who wouldn't judge me with cold, analytical eyes. "I can't believe he's documenting everything like you're some kind of criminal," she said, after I'd explained about the spreadsheet. "Thank you. Finally, someone who sees how crazy this is." "But Lira, you did lie to him. Multiple times. And the video is pretty damning." "Whose side are you on?" "I'm on your side. I'm always on your side. But I'm also being realistic about how this looks from the outside. It looks like a woman who made one mistake and is being crucified for it." There was a pause. "Does it? Because from where I'm sitting, it looks like a married woman who went to a hotel with a stranger and then lied about it repeatedly." I hung up on her too. By Wednesday, the situation at Ella's school had gotten worse. I arrived for pickup to find a cluster of other mothers whispering by the playground, their conversation stopping abruptly when they saw me. Ella emerged from the building looking small and defeated, her usual bounce completely gone. "How was school, baby?" "Okay." She wouldn't meet my eyes. "Just okay? What did you learn today?" "Mommy, why were you dancing with that man who isn't Daddy?" My heart stopped. "What?" Jessica's mum showed her the video on her phone. Jessica showed everyone at lunch. Tears started rolling down her cheeks. "She said you were being bad." I knelt down to her level, my own eyes filling with tears. "Mummy made a mistake, baby. A big mistake. But it doesn't change how much I love you and Daddy." "Are you and Daddy getting divorced like Jessica's parents?" The question hit like a punch to the gut. We're working through some problems right now." "Is it because of the dancing man?" I couldn't lie to her anymore, not when she was already suffering because of my choices. "Partly, yes." She cried harder, and I pulled her into my arms right there on the sidewalk, not caring who saw us or what they thought. My baby girl, paying the price for my selfishness. When we got home, Rowan was waiting with a manila envelope and a man in a suit I didn't recognize. "Lira, this is David Chen from Morrison & Associates. He's going to be handling our legal separation." The word separation hit like ice water. Not divorce, not yet, but the first step toward dismantling everything we'd built together. "Mrs. Vane," the lawyer said, extending his hand, "I understand this is a difficult time, but we need to discuss some practical matters. Custody arrangements, financial support, division of assets." "I don't want a separation," I said, looking between them. "I want to save my marriage." "That's no longer an option," Rowan said quietly. "Too much has happened. One night, Rowan. One stupid night that I regret every day." "It's not just the night, Lira. It's the lies, the deception, the complete lack of remorse until you got caught." He gestured toward Ella, who was watching cartoons but clearly listening to every word. "It's the impact on our daughter. She's 8 years old, and kids at school are asking her about her mother's behavior." The lawyer cleared his throat. "Perhaps we should discuss this privately, without the child present." "No," Rowan said. "Ella should go to her room. Lira and I need to have this conversation." After Ella left, reluctantly and with many backward glances, the lawyer spread papers across our kitchen table. Custody schedules, financial disclosures, asset inventories. "Mr. Vane is seeking primary custody with supervised visitation initially," the lawyer explained, "given the recent behavioral issues and their impact on the child's well-being." "Supervised visitation? She's my daughter." "She's also a child who's been traumatized by her mother's very public indiscretions," Rowan said. "Until you can prove you're stable and trustworthy, I'm not comfortable with unsupervised visits." "You can't do this." "Actually, I can. And I will." He pulled out his phone and showed me a recording app. "This conversation is being documented, by the way, for the custody evaluation." I stared at him, this stranger wearing my husband's face, and realized I'd never really known him at all. I'd seen his quiet nature as weakness, his methodical approach to life as boring. I'd never imagined he could be this ruthless, this coldly efficient in destroying our family. "You're recording me?" I'm protecting myself and my daughter from someone who's proven she can't be trusted. The lawyer packed up his papers. Mrs. Vane, I'd strongly recommend you retain counsel of your own. This process will move forward, with or without your participation. After they left, I sat alone at the kitchen table, where we'd shared thousands of meals, made countless family decisions, planned birthday parties and vacations, and all the ordinary moments that make up a marriage. Now it was just another crime scene in Rowan's carefully documented case against me. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Saw the video. You were amazing that night. Want to do it again? Theo. I deleted it immediately, but not before wondering if Rowan had somehow seen it too, if it would end up in his spreadsheet as more evidence of my moral failings. Everything I touched seemed to turn to poison. Every choice I made just dug the hole deeper, and somewhere in her bedroom, my 8-year-old daughter was learning that sometimes mommies make mistakes so big they break families apart. The calendar invite appeared in my email Friday morning. Meeting, Monday, 9:40 a.m., courthouse, mandatory attendance. I stared at the screen, my coffee growing cold, as the implications sank in. This was it, the end of everything, scheduled as efficiently as a dentist appointment. I called Rowan immediately. What's happening Monday? You'll find out when you get there. This is my life too, Rowan. I deserve to know what you're planning. You deserved a lot of things, Lira. A faithful wife, an honest partner, a mother who put her family before her own selfish desires. His voice was still that same flat monotone that had become his default since this all started. But we don't always get what we deserve, do we? The line went dead. I spent the weekend in a panic, calling lawyers who wouldn't take my case without a substantial retainer I couldn't afford. My administrative leave had turned into termination. Company image and moral turpitude clause and other corporate speak that meant I was unemployed with a viral video as my professional legacy. Samara came over Sunday night, bringing wine and Chinese takeout like we were having a normal sister evening instead of what felt like a wake for my marriage. Maybe it won't be as bad as you think, she said, though her voice lacked conviction. He's been planning this for weeks, Sam, documenting everything, building a case. He's going to destroy me. You destroyed yourself, Lira. I looked at her, shocked. I thought you were on my side. I am on your side. That's why I'm telling you the truth. She set down her wine glass and faced me fully. You cheated on your husband. You lied about it repeatedly. You got caught in a viral video that embarrassed your family and cost you your job. Rowan didn't do any of that, you did. He's been cold and distant for months. So you talk to him about it. You go to counseling. You don't sleep with some random guy from a club and then act surprised when there are consequences. Tears started falling, hot and bitter. I just wanted to feel alive again. And now you get to feel alive while fighting for custody of your daughter and trying to rebuild your entire life from scratch. She softened slightly, reaching over to squeeze my hand. I love you, Lira, but you need to stop playing the victim and start taking responsibility for what you've done. After she left, I sat in Ella's room watching her sleep, memorizing her face in case Monday meant I wouldn't see her for a while. She looked so peaceful, so innocent, completely unaware that her world was about to change forever because of choices I'd made. I'm sorry, baby, I whispered. Mummy is so sorry. Monday morning arrived, grey and cold, matching my mood perfectly. I dressed carefully, conservative suit, minimal makeup, wedding ring still on my finger, even though it felt like a lie. Maybe if I looked respectable enough, professional enough, the judge would see that I was still a good mother, despite everything else. The courthouse was busier than I'd expected, full of people dealing with their own legal dramas. I found Rowan waiting outside the designated courtroom, looking calm and prepared in his best suit. He had a briefcase with him, actual physical files, organized and tabbed like everything else in his methodical world. You look nice, I said, trying for normalcy. He didn't respond, just checked his watch and made a note in his ever-present legal pad. "Rowan, please, before we go in there, can we just talk? Really talk like we used to?" When did we ever really talk, Lira? When did you ever tell me you were unhappy instead of just acting out? I tried. You tried what? Sleeping with strangers, lying to my face, humiliating our family in public? I tried to get your attention. For months I tried to connect with you, to make you see me, to make you care about something other than work. So you decided the best way to get my attention was to cheat on me. It wasn't about cheating. It was about feeling wanted, feeling alive. It was about being selfish, about putting your own desires above your family's well-being. He finally looked at me, and for a moment I saw a flash of the old Rowan, the one who used to look at me like I was his whole world. Do you have any idea what this has done to Ella? She cries herself to sleep, asking if Mommy still loves her. She thinks your affair was somehow her fault, that she wasn't good enough to keep our family together. The words hit like physical blows. That's not true. I love her more than anything. Then why did you risk losing her for one night with a stranger? I didn't have an answer. Couldn't explain the desperate need for validation, the crushing weight of feeling invisible in my own life, the intoxicating rush of being desired again. None of it seemed important now, faced with the reality of what I'd lost. "Mrs. Vane?" A man in a suit approached us, carrying an official-looking envelope. "Lira Vane?" "Yes." "You've been served." He handed me the envelope and walked away, leaving me standing there with my entire future in my hands. The top page was visible through the clear window. Petition for divorce, irreconcilable differences, and adultery. My hands shook as I opened it, scanning the legal language that reduced 8 years of marriage to bullet points and exhibits. Rowan was asking for full custody, citing my moral unfitness and pattern of deceptive behavior. He wanted the house, the car, everything we'd built together. Attached were 3 USB drives, labeled in his neat handwriting, text messages and social media, financial records and timeline, and witness statements and video evidence. "You documented everything," I whispered. "I told you I would." "The text messages. You have all of them. Every deleted conversation with Theo. Every lie you told about your whereabouts. Every expense from that night." He gestured toward the envelope. "It's all there, Lira. Every choice you made, every consequence that followed. People were starting to stare at us, drawn by the drama of a woman falling apart in the courthouse hallway. I could see phones being raised, more videos being recorded, more evidence of my public humiliation. This will destroy me. You destroyed yourself. I'm just documenting the process. What about Ella? What about our family? Ella will be fine. She'll have stability, honesty, and a parent who puts her needs first." He picked up his briefcase, preparing to leave. "As for our family, you ended that the night you went to that hotel." "Rowan, please." But he was already walking away, leaving me standing there with the divorce papers in my hands and the curious stares of strangers documenting my downfall. I thought about that night at the club, about the music and the lights and the feeling of being alive again, about Theo's hands on my body and the validation of being wanted. It had felt like freedom then. Now I understood it had been the most expensive night of my life. The divorce proceedings took 3 months, but the outcome was never in doubt. Rowan's documentation was flawless, his evidence overwhelming, his presentation methodical and devastating. I sat in that courtroom and watched my life dissected like a biology experiment. Every text message I'd sent to Theo, every lie I'd told Rowan, every dollar I'd spent that night, it was all there, organized in neat folders and presented with the same attention to detail Rowan brought to his coding work. My lawyer, a public defender who looked like he'd rather be anywhere else, tried his best. He talked about marriage difficulties and temporary lapses in judgment and the importance of keeping families together. But you can't argue with timestamps and bank records and video evidence that's been viewed by half the internet. The judge, a stern woman in her 60s, who'd probably seen every variation of human failure, was not impressed by my tears or my apologies. "Mrs. Vane," she said, looking over her reading glasses at me, "adultery is not a mistake, it's a choice. A series of choices, in fact, each one a betrayal of your marriage vows and your family's trust." She awarded Rowan everything he'd asked for: full custody of Ella, with supervised visitation for me every other weekend. The house, the car, the savings account. I was ordered to pay child support despite being unemployed, and to attend counselling before any visitation could begin. The court finds that the petitioner has provided clear and convincing evidence of adultery, deception, and behaviour detrimental to the welfare of the minor child, the judge continued. "Mrs. Vane, I strongly encourage you to use this time to reflect on your choices and their consequences. Your daughter deserves better." After the gavel fell, I sat in the empty courtroom for a long time, staring at the divorce decree that made it official. 8 years of marriage, reduced to legal boilerplate and court orders. Rowan was waiting for me in the hallway, no longer my husband but the father of my child, the man who would control whether I got to see Ella, the keeper of evidence that would follow me for the rest of my life. "Are you satisfied?" I asked him. "I'm relieved," he said. "Ella and I can start over now, build a life based on honesty instead of lies." "I'm still her mother." "Yes, and if you can prove you've changed, if you can show that you're capable of putting her needs first, maybe someday you can be the kind of mother she deserves." "I always put her needs first." "You risked her stability, her home, her family for one night with a stranger. That's not putting her first, Lira. That's putting yourself first and hoping everyone else would just deal with the consequences." He was right, and we both knew it. I'd gambled with everything that mattered and lost it all. "The supervised visits start next weekend," he continued. "The court-appointed supervisor will be there at 10 a.m. Don't be late." "Where will you be?" "Building a new life. One where Ella doesn't have to wonder if Mommy is going to disappear again, or lie to her, or make choices that hurt our family." He walked away then, briefcase in hand, leaving me alone in the courthouse hallway with my phone buzzing with notifications I no longer wanted to see. The video had resurfaced during the divorce proceedings, shared again by people who found entertainment in other people's downfall. I thought about Theo, about that night that had seemed so important, so necessary, so worth the risk. I'd felt alive in his arms, desired and wanted, and free from the mundane responsibilities of marriage and motherhood. Now I was truly free, free from my husband, my home, my daughter's daily presence in my life, free to start over from nothing, to rebuild from the ashes of my own making. It wasn't the kind of freedom I'd been looking for. The irony wasn't lost on me. I'd cheated because I felt invisible, neglected, taken for granted. Now I was truly alone, with supervised visits to see my own child and a viral video as my claim to fame. I'd wanted Rowan to notice me, to fight for our marriage, to show some emotion beyond that cold, analytical detachment. Instead, he'd documented my betrayal with the same methodical precision he brought to everything else, building an unassailable case that destroyed me completely. In the end, he'd won not through passion or drama, but through patience and preparation. While I was acting on impulse and emotion, he was collecting evidence and building strategy. The student had become the teacher, and I'd learned too late that actions have consequences, that choices matter, and that some mistakes can't be undone with apologies and tears. As I walked out of that courthouse, divorced and disgraced, I finally understood what Rowan had been trying to tell me all along. He'd never been the cold, unfeeling husband I'd painted him as. He'd been protecting himself and our daughter from someone who'd proven she couldn't be trusted. And he'd been right to do it.